What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. We are presented by TickPick.com. Remember to use that promo code capital OSHOW20 for $20 off your next order for all sporting events, concerts, wherever the hell you really want to go. Head on over to TickPick.com. It's episode 635 of the podcast today. No disrespect to any of my other guests. We were talking about Peter Meyerhoff, some of the other people who have really gone through the ringer in their life and I've come out on the other end. You might have the most disciplining story I think I've ever heard. So Julio, thanks so much for dropping by today in Phoenix.
Oh, thank you, man, for having me.
This is going to be amazing. You're wearing sunglasses indoors. You look like a total badass. I couldn't pull off that look. I was telling you before, I can't even relate to the conversations that you're going to share with us today. Insane story of you kind of just going through, like I said, the ringer, growing up in Chicago, correct? And
yes.
How early on did you kind of get in, I guess I'll call it the circles there?
I mean, I started young. 9, 10 years old, I was already on the streets doing a lot of adult stuff, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So kind of tell the people who have never heard your story before. You've been on so many big shows. What was it? The Tap In podcast, the big one that I saw you on, Peter's show,
Yeah.
Nick Garapoulos, Just Grow, a friend of mine as well, who was able to connect us. For people who have never heard your story before, just kind of a brief overview of what you kind of went through growing up.
My parents got married at a very young age. They were 14 when they got married, so they had me at 16, and they moved to Chicago. I was the first, generation born here, and my dad fell in love with the gangs, the drugs, and pretty much ended up abandoning my mom. So she had to move in with her brother, and from the age of 4 to 9, he was the one that, tortured me, molested me, drowning. All kinds of stuff, and by the time I was 9, I was already out of control. I was on the streets. I can't lie. I wanted blood. I wanted to get even with people, and I knew what violence was. So, all the gang members love a broken kid. They use them to the fullest. So that's what happened, and then I started hanging around with different gangs. I really didn't commit to one gang because I got moved around so much. So I kind of just, I was like a chameleon. I just blend in with everybody. And that's what I did, man, to survive and just on the streets. By the time I was 16, I was already working for a family in Mexico, what they call the cartel now. And I was bringing cars in back and forth, and the whole gang life brought a lot of violence, drugs, murders, just a lot of more demons, you could say, to my life. So it's like I started off bad, and then I just made it worse, if that makes any sense, in my life.
So it all started with anger.
Yes.
I should say.
Yeah.
Because you talk about mindset a lot. You are what you make yourself out of, what your mind tells you, right? And more often than not, your mind turns on you, which is so backwards to me.
For a long time, I believed that I was going to be a gang member. For a long time, I believed that I was going to be a drug dealer. And I did all that stuff.
Yeah, you just accepted it.
I did it. And for a long time, I believed that that's all I knew how to do. And I guess you could say I conquered it, but, I was in and out of prison my whole life. And the more I was in, the more violent I got, and the less, I didn't know how to interact with people out here. I really didn't. I would come out and I would be right back in again. I would come out and I would go right back in it. And I felt at home in there. And I remember right when I was going to get right off of probation, this was going to be the first time I had ever got off. And I was 3 days before I was getting to get off, and the doorbell rang, and it was my PO. And I got up, and I was terrified, and my wife was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "She's here to get me." They always wait to the last minute to come and get you. But that's how messed up I was already mentally, and she was happy to tell me that I was off of probation, and it was completely something different. But I was so used to the negative part of my life that, I always expected it, man. So it's been a trip to learn to actually expect something good, and now it's all about disciplining myself and just, living it every day, walking the walk.
What year did you first go away? Like, how old were you?
Man, I started going away when I was like 16. It started with overnights, just being out there at night. They call it mob action. They grab you, you spend the night there. And I started graduating to bigger crimes, and then a lot of gun cases, 4 gun cases, unlawful use of a weapon. So probation, it's crazy because Chicago supposedly has the gun laws, but I mean, my first gun, I got probation. Second gun, probation again. Third gun, 6 months. Fourth gun, a year. So it was really like just a slap on the wrist, So I just kept getting out and getting more violent and more violent. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like I tell people, Chicago's always been bad. It's been bad for a very long time. And when you grow up seeing your friends getting murdered, their heads getting blown off, and getting hit by cars, and you become numb to that, and you actually just, I mean, I can't sit here and lie. You go out and you see these crimes, or you commit these crimes, and you're numb to it. You're like eating pizza, like chilling somewhere. Just, I don't know how to explain it, man. Like you become very disconnected.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because when you first meet your wife, what, 4 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago, like you didn't even know what, comfort, love, nourishment felt like, right? It was just brand new to you. You almost felt crappy for being vulnerable.
Well, I thought she was lying to me for a long time. I really couldn't believe it. I was like, "Why are you with me? You're too hot. Why are you loving me? Like, this doesn't happen." Like, and I kept putting myself down, and like, I'm not gonna lie, like she stuck it out, and it was just like, "Nah, I'm gonna prove to you," because she knew, like, my whole family. So I got moved around my whole life. Like every 3 months, like I got moved to my grandparents' house, my dad's. Nobody knew how to deal with me because I was so damaged as a kid. So I was going to a new school every couple of months, and I was used to that. So I handled my relationships the same way. I would be with a girl, make a baby, I would go to prison, come out, and then I'll do it all over again. And she's been my longest relationship because, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie. She stuck it out, and she proved to me and showed me that she loved me. So, like, it really changed me. It really, like, it made me see another part of life.
How many kids? 5 kids?
Yeah, I have 5 kids.
5 kids. That's a healthy amount of kids, right?
A lot of child support, I'll tell you that much.
So you have 5 children, how many different mothers?
5.
5 different mothers. That's a lot of relationships to mend and kind of maintain.
It's been hard, man, but God is good, and He's been putting my kids all back in my life. And when I first met my wife, I was like, all right, so we're married now, we're going to have a baby, right? And she's like, no, we're not having no babies. You already have enough. So, it is what it is.
So how has it been kind of forming and mending some of those relationships with your kids? Because I know you talked about it on the Tap In podcast, where 4 of the 5 kids you have good relationships now with, and you can really kind of like be in the moment with them and be in a good spot. Like how difficult was that?
It's been weird. I can't sit here and lie because I don't know how to be a father. I just learned how to love my wife. I just learned how to love myself. So like it's been it's been weird, but at the same time, like I'm taking it all in. Like my son, he wanted to go play like baseball, and I'm like, I don't know if I could do the whole baseball thing. I mean, we could go work out. And it's just, I don't see myself, like, doing that. I don't know, man. It's just, when I was in prison most of my life, I always watched, like, TV shows, and I would watch, like, family shows, like The House on the Prairie and all that stuff. And I used to always wonder, is that how families are supposed to be? Like, are they supposed to love each other? And those are all questions that I asked myself. So that's why, like, it's been all new to me, but I mean, I'm enjoying it, man. It's something that I guess most people would take for granted.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like you're their friends.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to be their friend first.
Yeah, exactly.
Because those are probably a lot of different dynamics for you too. Because have any of those women remarried and like they have families and it's kind of like, yeah, Julio's going to come over and play with,
No, I mean, the women don't want nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
They don't even want to speak to me. My kids are the ones that are searching me
Are they
out.
older?
And yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, it is what it is, man. I wish I could say sorry to, like, all the people I hurt, but, I had to kind of forgive myself and just kind of keep moving.
So what was it that changed everything, besides your lovely wife here, when it comes to mindset and controlling those anger thoughts or those insecurities or those vulnerable moments where, like, you wanted to, like, turn the switch again and do kind of, like, rebellious things? Because that was just your nature. That's how you trained your mind for years and years and years. How did you untrain all of those negative thoughts?
When I came home, the discipline part was there. I get up at the same time every day. I was at the gym working out. This discipline part was there. I just didn't know how to be good. I didn't know how to not cheat, not lie, not be a dog. Like, I didn't know how to do all that other stuff. So my whole life changed when I gave my life to the Lord. I mean, I got on my knees one day, and I never was a Bible thumper. I was never, I did 17 years in prison, and I used to make fun of guys who used to go to church because I used to be like, oh, now you want to find God now that you got time. You weren't looking for him out there. So, one day I was just so tired because I knew that I was wearing my wife down just with the fights and the control. I suffered from a lot of PTSD. Like, I would get up at night, I would check the whole house, I would hear noises. I would not let her sleep because I was constantly, up. A lot of paranoia, a lot of just crazy stuff. And one day I fell to my knees and I was just like, all right, so who's this Jesus dude? Who's like, I just got on my knees and I started crying, man. And I almost felt like I couldn't even look up. That's how embarrassed I was of my whole life. And for some reason, I just started to, like, I guess you could say, confess everything that I had done in my life, all the bad stuff, people I hated, people that I disliked. It was just nonstop, and I was crying like a baby. I had never cried like that before. And I got up and I was like, wow, this is like the best pre-workout I've ever had. I was like, this is what people feel, I guess, in church. Mm-hmm. And I went into the garage and I started to feel it again, like the guilt and like, but it was like leaving me. I can't explain it. Like, it wasn't inside of me. It was like leaving me. And I got back on my knees again. And this is when my YouTube was all about cartel. Like, that's all I talked about. I talked about gangs in Chicago. I talked about cartel. That's all I talked about. And in that moment in the garage, I just felt it in my heart that I wasn't going to talk about that no more. That I was going to talk about, improving yourself, self-development. I was going to talk about Jesus, what he did in my life, my heart, just becoming a better person. And on that day, I just got up and I started recording. I told everybody, hey, I'm not talking about cartel stuff no more. I'm not, and cartel stuff is what got my channel, like, big. So it was like
a complete 180 almost.
And my wife was like, man, when you get the football, you just run with it. And I was like, yeah, I completely go to the other side. And I just told everybody, that's it, And I have a very addicting personality, man. So, like, when I dive into something, like, I'm all in. Mm-hmm. It's what made me so dangerous on the streets. Like, I'm all in. And I started getting up every day. I started reading scripture every day. I was like, man, I'm gonna be a pastor. And I just went full blown. I was going to churches, sharing my testimony, and I guess you could say I was trying to be perfect. And I went up like a jet, and then, like, I felt like I ran out of gas, and I started, like, coming down and crashing. And me and my wife were about to get a divorce because of, just me trying to be something I can't be perfect, and like I said, she's been my mentor. She was like, dude, you can't be perfect. You just have to try and be you and do what's right. And I was like, man, it sounds so easy, but it's hard, And we ended up working things out and everything, and it was another lesson learned. And I come to realize now that we're all gonna make mistakes, but it's really not a mistake if we learn from it. It's a mistake if we keep doing it over and over again. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I have now is that if I fall, then I get up, and I have people like her in my life. I have people like Peter in my life. I have a lot of I have a huge circle now that I lean on when I need to, and they help me get up. No judging, no nothing, and I'm just getting better as I go, man.
Mm-hmm, that's all you can do. And as a man of God now, it's like it's in His hands, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't be a perfectionist because at the end of the day, you have to do what's in your control. You can't worry about what's outside of your control, which is the biggest learning curve for any human being on the face of planet Earth. Every single day, finding that peace within you to say, like, okay, this wasn't supposed to happen for me today, despite all of that work, right? Yeah. Especially when it comes to content creation and brand building. And oh my God, are you kidding me? Like with a YouTube channel, making clips, making thumbnails for the clips, putting out the full videos, exporting, editing videos, making sure that the lighting's correct, like we have lighting in here, we have multiple camera shots, making sure the mics work, like everything's got to work. And if one thing doesn't, like it could set you off, if you're not on the right move. Yeah. So it's definitely good of you to come to that realization and finally like realizing, someone else is in control. Just let it happen, man.
Oh man, it's called submission, and it sounds like a bad word, but it's really not. It's just kind of, hey, if you can't change something, man, it's going to be all right, man. We always have, if we have tomorrow, if we wake up, but, you can't worry about it.
So how detrimental or how improving was it for your channel to kind of turn the 180 and be like, I'm no longer talking about the things that built my channel up. I'm going to start talking about things that are going to help improve the lives of everybody that's listening. Because it is just as valuable, but it's like it is a complete switch for people who probably wanted to see more of that content.
Yeah, we went from, 7,000 to about $250 just to change. People want to hear about that cartel stuff. People want to, they call me a cartel expert. Mm-hmm. And they want to hear the stories and what happens and stuff like that. But I was so tired of talking about all that stuff, man. I was so tired of reliving it, just even though they weren't my stories, like I was still reliving everything that I did and saw over there, being in prison. Like most people don't realize that, I spent 4 years in prison over there in Mexico, and it's really prison over there. It's not like a 5-star hotel like over here. Like it's prison over there. Like it's survival of the fittest.
Like there's more drugs in the prison than outside.
Yeah, people would come from outside into the prison to party because the drugs would be more potent. They'd be stronger, and it was nonstop. People were always getting stabbed, lynched. I mean, there was always something bad happening, and it's through God's grace that I made it out of there, man. It was tough.
I mean, that is so backwards too, to have a prison be worse than the outside where they're putting you in. Like it's like, oh, you're going, like, great, fantastic. Like there was probably nobody that was actually, it wasn't punishment.
I kind of figure like it's like just throwing a bunch of people in like a small city and just letting them kill themselves, pretty much. That's pretty much what it was. I tell people to watch the movie Get the Gringo with Mel Gibson to get a better idea of how the prison was over there. That's pretty much how it was.
So, and you don't like talking about it anymore, but what was like the worst cartel-like story that you were a part of?
I mean, the lynching of the guy that molested that little baby. They talked about it on the show that they did, but I mean, just watching what they did to him. I mean, they started beating him from the door. The whole prison was already waiting for him because they had him on the newspaper the day before. So the whole prison was waiting for him at the door. As soon as they let him in, I mean, the pipes, the sticks, the rocks. By the time he got to the front where I got to see him, I mean, his hands were like jello. I can't explain it. Like he was trying to put them down, but everything was broken. And they were just, they pretty much beat him to death. I mean, it was, people don't realize that when you see things like this and you hear noises of all these things happening, like it changes you. Like I didn't realize how bad my PTSD was until I married my wife, because what'd you say one day? If I knew it was that bad, I wouldn't have married you. It was bad. It was bad. And I can't sit here and lie. Like, it was bad.
Man, and do you, like, when you're in it, and you're in those groups, you're in those inner circles, and they either direct orders at you or, like, it's just, you're a part of it, is it tough to get out? Like, are you, like, a part of, like, a brotherhood almost?
Yeah, it's tough to get out if you turn around and, like, snitch or do something bad, rob them, stuff like that. I mean, I was always kind of like a soldier, man. I always just did what I was told. I did my time. I always tell people I'm not hiding from nobody. Everybody knows where I'm at. You know what I mean? They have the address to my gym. It's like a lot of people told on, around my circle. My circle, the Flores twins. A lot of my other friends, associates told. But, I mean, I did my time, man, and that's pretty much it.
So now, when it comes to self-development and everything that you do, whether it be with fitness, mindset, working with other individuals, trying to overcome certain things, like how many different walks of life are you working with? Whether it's training people at the gym or helping people with other things outside of that.
I mean, in fitness, I help a lot of older men feel strong again. Yeah. A lot of my clients are above 40, 50. I mean, my oldest one is 74. And just make them feel strong again, and I teach them, diet, all that stuff. The guys that I love working with are, guys that had a life like me, that went through something like me. I go to the Dream Center a lot. I go there on Saturdays. And a lot has to do with, I teach them the discipline, something that they already have from prison. And then we just add other stuff, the spiritual part, the healing. There's a lot of steps to help somebody, I guess you could say like me, come to find their purpose, because we've been lost for so long. So it takes a little bit of work, but I love doing it, man. I was telling my wife, I don't want to even work at the gym no more. Like I just want to be out there, like helping. Like it feeds my soul. Like I can't explain it.
Giving is way, way, way more fulfilling than receiving, right? Which I feel like we got to teach kids more often these days.
Well, we live in different times, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
We live in different times, but like I always tell the guys, do you remember when your grandfather used to tell you, in my times, and how much that bothered you?
Back in my day.
It's like, well, guess what? We're not in the 40s no more. That's what we used to say. So guess what? We're not in the 90s or 80s, so I've kind of learned to adapt to this. I never thought I was going to be on TikTok and YouTube, and like I was good at not creating paper trails. Now it's
everything's out there. Everybody knows everything about you. Yeah. Your story, your birthday, what you wear,
everything. So, it is what it is, man.
Oh, my God. I mean, it's crazy to see how far you've come with all of this stuff, too. Because there's a lot of people, like you said, that are just turned off. Like, YouTube channel, like, I could do that. But it's like, it's a full-time job. It's a full-time job on top of what you're already doing. Like, are there at any point where you just burnt out? You're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But then you just kept going with it.
I think that's how I feel every day. But I just keep going, because it's like, this year, we're supposed to launch the women's clothing line. We're supposed to watch the supplement line. My book's supposed to come out this year. Trying to take acting classes. I'm a dreamer, man, and
so your mind is open to a lot of different things now that you probably didn't think you'd get the opportunities to do 10 years ago, right? So like you want to get into acting, you're writing your book, which writing to me, like pen to paper, if you're able to do certain things like that every day, like there's so many people I know and I got to start doing it, is writing down what you're grateful for every single morning to start your day, writing down your goals every single day. That's how you manifest them, right? By constantly implementing them into your mind.
I just
every
dream.
single day.
I dream about it. I dream about it, and every day I just add more to it, and I know that we could accomplish a lot of things when we put our mind to it.
So what about acting is interesting to you? Because I know we were talking about before kind of your story and what you went through that they put out, it's out there, right? Dealing with directors, dealing with producers, dealing with other talent. It's difficult. It is a project. You're dealing with artists. You think you could do that consistently?
I want to give it a shot, man. I want to learn the ropes. I fell in love with film. I love film. I want to shoot a movie one day. I have so many ideas in my head now. When I came home, I taught myself how to edit my own videos, how to film, how to do my thumbnails, all that stuff, because I didn't have the money to pay nobody to do it, so I was doing everything. And I started falling in love with film because you could tell such a story where you can make people like laugh or cry or just like, and that's like the biggest part of me, because like I didn't learn how to read and write till I was like 30 something. So my other part of my brain that's very like, I just like to create stuff. Like now it's paying off. And I just, if I could go back in time, I would love to go to school for film. Like I would love to make movies.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of the art these days. I was a film minor in school, and it's like when you're doing everything yourself, like you said, it's fun and you appreciate those experiences. But when you have the financial backing to hire people who are actually like badass at what they do from behind the scenes, that's what's going to make it look so much better, right? But at the same time, you're dealing with a lot of egos, so there is that aspect to it as well. You said you wanted to punch the director in the face, right? When you're just like, I don't want to deal with these people.
No, he was just, he was just talking about, the stuff that the guy was doing to me and the drowning, and he wanted me to go more into detail, and I was like, dude, I don't want to go into detail about that. Like, what does that have to do even with the show? Mm-hmm. But he was trying to get emotion out of me, and like, when you watch the show at the end, when I start getting emotional, those are the parts that he got out of that. So like I was like, oh, so that's what he did. All that B-roll stuff,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's all psychological. It's like, oh, that guy's a mastermind. He knew exactly what he was doing. It was premeditated. Yeah. How we were talking about before we came on too about surrounding yourself with the right people, right? You finding like a Peter Meyerhoff introducing you to a ton of different people here. You're like, I never thought I'd be surrounded by so many white guys. It's like a completely different thing. Everybody's so calm, everybody's so supportive. But like, what is it about surrounding yourself with like-minded people? Because they're not easy to find. Like when you're intentional about it, they're still hard to find the right people. They kind of just like. It's like missing puzzle pieces. They just come into your life at every turning point, right?
I think the hard part is that everybody's busy. So, like, I mean, look at us. We were trying to make this happen for, like a month, and we were just, you were busy.
Oh, I didn't think you were coming on. I thought you were going to be fed up. Be like, oh, man, he's rescheduled so many times. There was one time where I flat out just, like, forgot about it and, like, didn't even schedule it. Like, we're just, like, go, go, go all the time.
I do it all the time, man. So I was like, I can't get mad. And that's one of the biggest things that I had to like learn is like, hey, people, it's life, stuff comes up. So, we got it done. And that's the biggest part is because everybody's busy. I mean, I get a text from Peter once a week and we've been trying to work out for the past 6 months. And it's like, all right, so I'll see you when I see you. But it doesn't change the dynamics. We're still friends. We're still... we're still trying to, I guess you could say, help clean up this world a little bit. Mm-hmm. Just do our part. We're, trying to give some hope to some people like us.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people who have been through what you went through that don't have that mindset yet. They haven't gotten out of their own heads. Yeah. And those are the people you guys are targeting. Like, there's... grass is greener on the other side, guys. Like, come on over, figure it out. And at the end of the day, the most frustrating aspect of that is that you can't really change anybody. You can be as influential as you want to be, but at the end of the day, it's up to them and their mindset.
You give them the tools, but it doesn't mean they're going to carry the bag. You know what I mean? So it's really up to them. But my biggest thing is I'm gonna walk the walk, talk the talk, and just lead by example. That's all I could do. And just share my my downfalls, my ups, my happy. It's not just, I try to keep it as real as I can. That's why I kind of share everything, and just, it's doable, man. It's just, it takes time.
When was the last time you caught yourself losing your mind? Like, at least just like internally, like something was just really pissing you off, really like triggering you, and you're like, oh, this is what I trained my mind to do for the last 30 years. I gotta stop myself. It's not that big of a deal.
Yesterday.
Every single day, basically.
So my wife likes to live like in these really like nice areas where I stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
So yesterday we went to this really nice condo place. I'm not gonna say the name, but it's in a really nice area in Scottsdale. So I walk in and I see nothing but like golfer shorts and like lacrosse hats,
boat shoes,
and I'm walking in and everybody's staring at me, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to live here. She's like, it's nice. Look, they have the pool. We can record here. They have the office. And I was like, yeah, but look how everybody's looking at me. And my wife's like, well, you're a big Mexican with muscles and you have a lot of tattoos. What do you expect? And I was like, I know, but like when I'm in Phoenix and downtown, because my gym is literally down the street from here, I was like, people really don't stare at me. And what did you say? Well, because there's a lot of like, what did you say, hippies with tattoos, so now that you're mixed in over there. So I don't even know what she said, but she said something. But I feel so uncomfortable around, I hate to say it like that, white people. Preppy white people, I guess. I'm going to just keep it real, I guess. I'm scared. In my neighborhood and how I grew up, I only seen white people when I went to jail. So, I mean, it scares me. Like, I don't know. Even my church, I go to Desert View Bible Church. It's on Carefree Highway. I mean, it's up north. I drove by that church 3 times before I decided to go in because I was terrified to walk in. And I've been to some of the most scariest prisons in Mexico and the United States. But I was scared to walk in there. So finally, when I got to walk in, and I was there for what, 8 months, I come to realize that it was me, like me feeling uncomfortable, all those. It helped me grow in a way that, like, I'm not saying I'm there 100%, but I'm gonna get there.
Mm-hmm. You recognize it every time now.
Yes.
And you could take any one of like the people that he's describing right now, like Exhibit A. These are the people that he's afraid of and uncomfortable of being around. The boat shoot wearing, vineyard buying, hat wearing.
And like I said, man, it doesn't come from a bad place, man. It's just, I don't know how to explain it, man. I get very shy, timid. Like I don't even become violent or nothing. I'm very scared. It has to be something. I don't know what it is.
It's like overcoming certain like triggers that you oddly just like trained your mind to think about for years on end that don't matter at all. Right?
Maybe we should just like set up a room, put me in there with like 100 people where I can't leave.
Get to know them. Everybody's friendly. Everybody's got a story to tell. Everybody's got their own insecurities.
I'm sweating right now just talking about it.
I don't know. I walk around Old Town Scottsdale. There's a lot of jack guys wearing sunglasses. I feel like you fit in.
That's the Old Town, though. Like, I had my episode. When I first came home from prison in 2013 before I got sent back, that's where I was trying to fit in. I was wearing a bandana. I had a mohawk. I was, a big juice head. I was fitting in. It was all right, but I felt so fake. I felt like I wasn't being me, and it actually made me become more addicted. I started using more drugs. I ended up going back to prison 2 years later, but it's not cool to try and be something you're not. Mm-hmm. And I enjoy. It's hard enough being me, man. So I enjoy being me.
So who are you, Julio? At the core, then.
My whole life, I pretended to be a gangster. My whole life, I pretended to be this killer, this gang member, cartel guy. And Really, man, I'm really a teddy bear, man. Now that I know what love is like I mean, we were crying on our way here. We were listening to love songs, and I just love how soft my heart has gotten because I know what emotions are now. You know, I laugh, I cry, and I enjoy it so much, man. I cry every day because I'm so grateful of how I feel now. My heart, like I'm able to sleep at night. There's peace in my heart. There's joy. I'm in love with this beautiful woman that I don't know why she wants to be with me, but you know, I'm every moment of every day counts now. I'm gonna cry right now.
He's a teddy bear disguised as a gangster. That's going to be the title of this episode, by the way. That's a good one.
Hey.
What, because I've heard you talk about the story of, for whatever reason, like, were you, to kind of give like a background on the story, you thought about committing suicide, you know?
Yeah.
And that's when you kind of knew, like, oh, I really love this woman, right? Because she came to your aid and she really went out of your way and saw, right?
Yeah.
That, like, something was up. And I'll let you kind of, like, tell the story in a little bit more context and you could articulate it better. But what was that for you? Like, were you seriously down and out, or was it just your brain kind of tricking you again, being like, well, I have nothing left to live for because I'm not really feeling anything in my life right now?
You know, I would always think that I didn't deserve better. I always put myself down. I always I always call it like self-suicide. Even before she met me, we went out one night and I drank to the point where I shouldn't have been driving, like, and I would do that all the time. You know, I was trying to kill myself. And that night I came home, I was like, is that it? Like, you work all day, you come home to an empty apartment, and like you feel miserable, you feel sad, you're alone. I was like, I don't want to feel like this. You know, so I was like, I know that I don't want to go back to prison. So I was like, I'm just going to kill myself. You know, it wasn't the first time I tried. So it was like, maybe I could get it right this time. And I really was going to do it, but for some reason, something in my heart told me to text her. And I would never really, we became friends, but I was kind of like dodging her a little bit because I kind of liked her already. I don't want to start crying. So I texted her and she answered me back, and I was like, I think that's it. Like, I'm tired. I'm ready to check out. I'm done. And she was like, no. And she started talking to me, and just, you know, she stayed on the line with me, and I got so tired that I ended up falling asleep, and I didn't do nothing. But the next day in the morning, you know, I was so embarrassed. I came in, and as soon as I saw her, she came up to me and gave me a hug. That hug really changed my life. So, yeah, she was a big part.
It's amazing to see how, like, one person can change your life like that, right? You don't know when they're going to enter. You don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what kind of impact that they're going to have, especially when you've never felt it before.
Yeah, I wanted to punch her in the chest because she made me feel very vulnerable. I had never felt that before, and it felt genuine, you know. It felt real. You know, throughout my whole life, you know, it wasn't just my uncle that molested me. I had a couple of aunts and family members, you know, and I could tell the difference when somebody hugs you genuinely and when somebody hugs you, like, almost with, like, a dirty, like, feeling. You get what I'm saying? Like, and that day, the way she hugged me, man, I was like, so I think it was the next day I was sitting on the toilet and I texted her and I was like, I think I love you. If I kind of feel, I think I know what it is now. And she was like, yeah, I think I love you too. And I was like, so what? Do I ask you to be my girlfriend now or what? How does it work? So from that day on, we just, that was it. I mean, we've been inseparable from that day. We work together. We're always together.
It's really cool because I'm sure you guys have polar opposite differences at times, like just like in personalities, right? Like two completely different people, two completely different experiences, but at the same time, there's like one or two similarities, like whether it's like from like a mental standpoint, the way you guys do things, and are probably like, oh yeah, that's why we connect, that's why we click.
We have a lot more. I mean, I hate to say it, but her stepfather committed suicide. So, like, she knew what to tell me. She knew how to talk to me. There's a lot of things that we have in common that she had a rough life, too. She went through a lot. But there's a lot of things that I believe that if she wouldn't have went through, she wouldn't even know how to deal with me. Because she was the first woman in my life that actually knew how to deal with me. And the very first one that I remember one time in the kitchen, and it's been steps, steps of my molestation, steps of the drowning, stuff, all these that she's had a hand in. And one time she got me in the kitchen and she was like, are you going to stop acting like a little bee already, and like stop playing the victim, and like that's it. And when she said that, I got so mad, but at the same time I needed that. I needed to hear that. So, like, from that day, I started making changes. And now whenever she tells me anything, I just kind of roll with it.
Wow. It's amazing, like, certain experiences, like, kind of culminate into the grand story that is you guys meeting. Like, I'm sorry to hear that. And it's like, it's a part of your story that allowed you to meet him and really understand what he was going through that nobody else probably would have been able. Like, there's a lot of people that could have been sympathetic. Like, she was able to be empathetic towards that situation because she's been there before. Yep. And she knew what to say. So as shitty as that is, like, it's a part of the story, right? And it's still going.
Still going, bro.
That's unbelievable. I mean, you have a ton of unbelievable experiences and stories that you've used to inspire, not only on your channel, social media, obviously getting your brand out there. We talked about some of the few things that you want to do moving forward. What do you want to do specifically, when it comes to projects in film or even in fitness, when it comes to, posting things on social media? What do you want to use that for when it comes to your platform to specifically inspire certain groups of people? Is it always going to be in the form of what you experienced and certain people that are going through or went through what you went through and kind of get them out on the other side?
I mean, yeah. I mean, my whole platform has changed a lot. I mean, my YouTube channel is about to change a lot this year because we're going to go more into fitness and self-development and just a broader spectrum. And we just started a nonprofit also that Wrong to Strong Ministries. We're helping out in Chicago. We have a big Bible study in Chicago. My dream, honestly, is to build like a Wrong to Strong center here in Arizona, and remove gang members from other parts of cities and bring them here to change their lives, and then send them back out. That's my dream, and that's what I'm praying for. And I pray about it, and I just want to be in the trenches, man. I want to help. I want to help men stay out of prison. I want to help men stay out of gangs. I want to help men not do drugs. My whole story, man, mental health, I mean, it touches a lot of people. I mean, I wore so many hats. It's been a little crazy. Mm-hmm.
Imposter syndrome is a real thing when it comes to people just trying to be someone they're not, either to impress other people or just because you think internally, you've trained your brain to think this is what I want. Yeah. And it might not necessarily be exactly what your soul desires. Yeah, bro, which is a crazy thing to think about.
And we're seeing that a lot right now because of social media. Like, I see these guys on there, like, playing gangsters, and I'm like, dude, you really don't want that life. Like, you don't even know what comes with it. Mm-hmm. It's the chains, the money, that's all fine, but the nightmares and the conscience, that's not cool.
Well, I'll let you go. You got a lot on your plate, right? You've done this multiple times. I would love for you to do it here to wrap up this episode. If not, I could do it as well. Lead us in prayer before you leave.
Thank you.
Because I think this is very important. I've seen you do it on other shows, like I said. A very important aspect of my life, too, going to church every Sunday. So if you want to,
yes,
I'd love to end the episode that way.
I would love to. Father God, Thank you for this show, for what he's doing. Thank you. That I hope this message, reaches who it needs to reach, and just that they know it's never too late to turn to you, Father God. That you are there waiting for them. You love them, and you could teach us how to love, and just keep giving us the wisdom and the strength to keep doing what you want us to do. Your will, not ours, and just keep giving us the strength, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. That fills my heart, man. Thank you so much for coming in today. I appreciate you being patient with me. Patience is a virtue that it's kind of a lost art in today's world. So, and I knew from the beginning, I'm like, man, I'm being a really crappy communicator right now, but I appreciate your good faith and everything that you have going on and the people that you're inspiring. It really, really, fills me up. So this was episode 635 of the podcast, guys. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel at Jack O'Hara TV. Check it out.